Hey y'all, Richard Metal fan, huh? I'm bringing you guys an old school album review, and today we're going to be looking into this album's 20th anniversary, and it's from one of the best albums if you're a fan of like progressive metal or progressive death metal. And as you can see below the title, today we're going to be talking about the masterpiece known as Blackwater Park by Opeth. This is the band's fifth album, released on March 12th, 2001 in Europe, but it was also released like a day later in North America through Music for Nations and Coach Records. Now, this album is considered to be Opeth's like magnum opus, and a lot of people do consider it to be the best Opeth album. I definitely agree. It's definitely up there with between that or Ghost Reveries or Watershed, and it's just great. Like I don't even know. Like just from first listen, right from the get-go, it's just amazing. Like this is pretty much one, if probably in like the top 100 metal albums of all time, in my opinion, and I definitely see it up there. They're definitely not in my top 10 favorite albums, but it's really up there in the list in between the top 100s. I don't know where to rank it at, to be honest, because it's just that really, really good. Let's just start by production. This is actually the first work with first album to be produced with by Stephen Wilson from English progressive rock band Porcupine Tree, and he actually does like a lot of like clean and backing vocals on a couple of songs on there, and some additional guitar as well. Michael Ackerfeld, my God, this guy is a fucking god. Like I just love how like his vocals are just, he can go from like the great death growling and harsh vocals to some really just soothing like clean vocals, and just his guitar playing along with Peter Lindgren is just amazing, and just like the guitar work is really tight. The bass from Martin Mendez is pretty audible. You could definitely hear the bass well in the mix. And drumming wise, one of my all-time favorite drummers, Martin Lopez, who plays on this album, is a legend. So yeah, without further ado, let's dive into this album track by track. Now, starting things off is The Leper Infinity. And just right from the get-go, the start of this song is just gives me goosebumps. It starts off with a discordant piano chord which slowly just fades in, and it gets louder and louder until it's really loud and you just know what's about to come at any moment, but it just doesn't come. Then it does, then it's just the explosion is just fucking greater than you imagine, and the riffs are fast and evil, and just the aura kind of gives it like kind of like a haunted castle a bit. And I love like Michael's kind of like death growls, it just never lets up, and it goes like all the way from like the most perfect guitar solo I've ever heard Opeth before, and it breaks into like their famed harmony and just some lead guitars swinging over some pounding chords, and just the acoustic sections in this song and the clean singing that follow is just absolutely beautiful. And just it's pretty much ends with a great like progressive rock kind of like riff and an eerie kind of like piano section. Great way to start off this album. I think if you're going to start off an album well, this is an example of how you should do so. Next song on the album is Bleak. Now, it's pretty much a groovy kind of like song. It is considerably slower, and it's even more eerie than the previous song. And it's a highlight is like the echoing kind of like Ebo kind of lead that floats above like a dry like acoustic sounding, and then the distorted guitars. And the rest of the song just follows with a similar structure until Michael's clean vocals make a return with some of the best singing that he has done in his career. And then it slowly quiets it down until we reach an almost kind of like bluesy acoustic section, and I'm just really well amazed at how well sort of like the death metal section flows into this part. It just leaves me feeling, how did I get from there to here, and it follows with a great riff and a heavy kind of like distorted lead guitar that itself is just really amazing. And this is pretty much some of the instrumentally kind of like dense parts that Opeth has put to tape. And just listen to this from headphones, you could definitely hear everything that goes on here. It's just breathtaking. And this song kind of like repeats from earlier here, and then the sound of a tape breaking, which is awesome. Anyway, next song on the album is called Harvest, and this is right here is we have a nearly all acoustic song with no metal sections. It's certainly very pretty. It just kind of like threw me off for a little while, and at first I was kind of like, huh, that's so weird, and I just didn't understand it, but eventually I just got used to it, and I just think it's a great song. Moving on to the Drapery Falls. Now this kind of like seems to be more kind of like mood music than anything that Opeth has made. It feels very original and unique sounding. It combines sort of like very elements from a lot of different types of music, and I don't know, it's, the intro is just really a prime example of that. I don't know how you've heard from any band like an intro is just impossible to pin down. And the sections that follow are totally cool. It's sort of like a melancholy acoustic with sort of like slide guitars, and then the metal sections are fairly great, and I just love sort of like the little short acoustic bits that kind of like really just flow really well back into like the intro and sort of in a very nice way. Next song on here is Dirge of November, Burt. Now the beginning and ending to this is just great and has a very reverb kind of wall sound that breaks down to great effect, and Mikkel just sings and just plays his guitar for a few seconds, and his voice just really sounds like kind of weird a little bit, which kind of like adds like an interesting kind of contrast. And there's some more beautiful music, and the metal music is just great. It just has a really great clean section as well, which just lurks in there. It's fucking awesome. Moving on to the Funeral Portrait. Now it starts off with like a 12 string guitar intro, and it sounds really great. And there's just, for some reason, the riffs in that follow kind of like sounds like something from like Dream Theater a little bit, but it's very cool. And then the acoustic sections are just really evil sounding, and it just really helps out with like Martin Lopez's like drum fills, and it has a really great multiple guitar solos, and some really great vocals, especially like harmonizing, and it's a solid Opeth song. Moving on to Patterns in the Ivy. Now this is a pretty short little interlude, which is just like an acoustic piano duet. I mean, I don't really have much to say because it's only about a minute long. And then we finally get to the end of the album with the title track of the album, Blackwater Park. And this song is chock full of like the heaviest, most evil riffs Opeth has ever done. And this song kind of like reverses like the same kind of like structure, which starts off with the Leper Infinity, which began the album, by placing it sort of like a mellow interlude right near the beginning, where kind of like other interludes, it's not like hampered by the length, and then just some metal assault which follows, just not let up for a single moment. And I really love like Ackerfeld's kind of like death metal kind of like harmony, which he screams in like 2 different levels, which is just amazing. And you just have to listen to this song. It's just overall fucking amazing. Now, overall, Blackwater Park by Opeth, a fucking amazing album. And I know I keep saying fuck a lot, but I'm sorry. It's just I love this album. But one of the best progressive death metal or progressive metal albums you should listen to. If you haven't heard this album, I would highly recommend it. So I would give this album a score. I'm going to give Blackwater Park by Opeth a solid 10 out of 10. This is an album that, like if Opeth would have just ended everything right here and there, I think this is a very strong album. Now, yeah, that's my review of Blackwater Park by Opeth, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it, and thank you guys for watching. And as always, keep it metal. Take.